Hi, I'm Kristin. I'm the founder of the real food blog Live Simply, a certified nutrition coach, and faster way to fat loss coach. Now, I haven't always been into fitness, and in fact, just a few years ago, I was struggling with my own weight. It was in my mid 30s, and despite writing a real food, healthy eating blog for over 10 years at that point, I was struggling. I was gaining weight, and I couldn't figure out how. Obviously, just eating healthy wasn't enough. I was active. I would did bar classes and Pilates and kickboxing, and yet I didn't recognize the person in the mirror anymore. Well, as a curious person, I started doing research, and all the evidence, all the science out there pointed to the same basic things. That was daily movement, strength training, so lifting heavy weights, and also calories. And within those calories, eating a certain amount of macronutrients, so carbs, fats, and protein for your body composition and energy and hormones. And that is why it is important to eat certain macronutrients within a calorie target. Well, the problem is, this all sounded very basic, but I didn't know how to do these things. I needed someone to guide me. Well, I looked around, and individual coaches were expensive, and individual weightlifting programs were expensive, and they seemed way too complicated for me. And that's when I found Faster Way to Fat Loss. Faster Way to Fat Loss sounded gimmicky, but I was willing to give it a try, and that I did. That was over 3 years ago, and it was the best decision I ever made, besides marrying my husband over 20 years ago and having my two teenagers, well, now teenagers, kids. Well, Faster to Fat Loss completely changed my life and my body. They provided me with the basics of what I needed, the education to know how to track macros and calories, the specific calories and macros that I needed in order to achieve my goals, which at the time were fat loss. They provided weekly strength trainings and taught me how to strength train. And I got a coach in the program, all packaged up in one affordable price. Well, today I am sitting down with my then coach, Sandy Gravitz, and we're going to discuss everything that you want to know about Faster Way to Fat Loss, as well as how to lose fat in a sustainable way, how to build muscle, how to change your body composition, no matter your age. We discuss it all. Well, now fast forward over 3 years later, and my body looks completely different. I look better today in my 40s than I did in my 20s and my 30s. I have the education and the know-how to continue this lifestyle for the rest of my life. I'm not constantly yo-yo dieting. I'm not constantly restricting. In fact, I've lost fat over 25 pounds, and today I am building incredible muscle. I am strong, I am lean, and I feel good and energetic. I could not be more excited to age using these strategies. Well, since recording this interview, I took the leap and became a faster weight coach myself. For a long time, I said I wouldn't do it, but I realized there was a big need out there for good faster weight coaches, coaches that had expertise and education and could help guide people along in this journey, to be hands on with them, to be the resource that I needed, 3+ years ago when I joined. And that was somebody to come alongside, to hold my hand, and to teach me and to guide me through fat loss, through building muscle, and through changing my body in a sustainable way. Well, after you listen to this interview, I welcome you to join me in my next coaching round. I would love to be your coach and to help you along in your own journey to achieve your success in a sustainable way that is enjoyable and can last you a lifetime. Okay, now sit back and listen to this interview, and you'll find my link for coaching below.
Got
Okay.
it.
Well, Sandy, I am excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me. So you have been my coach now for what, like a year and a half, I want to say?
A year and a half now. I'm like, man, that flew by. Well, maybe in my eyes it did.
No, it did. So I started Faster Way like a little over 2 years ago, and then got through like the first 6 months, was doing great, experienced a ton of fat loss. And honestly, my concern within 6 months was I was losing too much weight and I was getting like too skinny. I didn't have this like toned look that I was going for because I didn't have enough muscle, honestly, which I later learned. And that's what I needed to prioritize at that point, was not just losing weight, but building some muscle. And so I turned to you as my coach, and man, like, you have been through this entire process with me, and it's been fun to see not only like how my body's changed, but my mindset around building muscle, fat loss, the whole thing is just really exciting. So I think as women, this whole thing like confuses us because there's so much messaging out there. So I wanted to sit down with you. So start us off, like tell us how you came to Faster Way, your background as a coach.
So, I'll try to make it fast. I started in the health and fitness industry on my own journey. Like I had no clue 20 years ago that this was going to be the trajectory of my life, my passion. But I got into the gym like many other women. I had children. I had never been that person who needed to lose weight or work out prior to children. So I didn't know what the heck to do. And I gained some weight. I felt uncomfortable. And so, like I said, I turned to the gym. Little by little, the gym changed my life. The way I felt about myself changed. My confidence changed. All these things that I had never experienced in my entire life. And I fell in love with strength training. That was not something that 20 years ago many women focused on. That was still the era of slim fast, lose all the weight. So it was a very just like new subject for women to be in the gym lifting weights. And through that, I completely transformed my body. Most people, if you see me now, they don't know my struggle 20 years ago. But I'm 5'2" for reference. So when I say this, it will sound differently to somebody who is 5'10", 6 feet tall, but I'm 5'2". I was a petite person and I was a size 12, which meant I probably weighed about 150 to 160 pounds on my frame. And yes, I was younger. So it is a lot easier when you're younger. If you're younger and watching this, start then. That will make all the difference in your journey. But I um, lost weight. I started building muscle and I just fell in love. And after, several years, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help women who were like me, laying in a pile of clothes, feeling miserable, nothing fits, comparing themselves to everybody that they see at that time was in magazines because there's no such thing as Facebook and Instagram and all of those things. But that's literally how I fell in love with strength training and fueling your body. And so I became a personal trainer. I would say like I've been doing this now for 16 years as a expert. So within 3 years of my journey, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I became a personal trainer. I've owned a business in home. I went to people's houses. I did all of that for years and years and years. Later in my journey, I started competing in fitness competitions, and that's really when I started to learn nutrition in a whole different manner. Um, with that comes some body image issues and the way you look at food. And as I went through that journey, I realized my mindset around how I was eating, what I was doing was not healthy. So I turned to macros. I found macros, and that is literally what gave me freedom from food. Um, so I've been training people on that now for 12 or 13 years. So when I found Faster Way, we had strength training. We had a focus on nutrition. It had a focus on macros. Three of the things that completely changed my body, my mind, and the way I looked at food. And I had to try it. It incorporated intermittent fasting. I had never tried that before. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. Within 2 weeks in the program, I was sold. And I was like, this is the missing piece. It is a program that puts nutrition, fitness, and all of it in one package so you can follow and continue to meet your goals.
That's what brought me to Faster Way as well. I didn't have the background that you have, but as I hosted the podcast and had a wellness website, like I was able to pick the brains of like top experts, and it seemed like everyone was pointing to the same things, right? Nutrition, strength training, protein. And I was like, okay, this is great, but like these are really big theories to me. I don't know how to do these things in everyday life. And as I tell people, like faster way is not some like magic weight loss thing or anything. Literally, all they're doing is taking the science of those things and putting it together in this like really nice package for everyday people, like, you know, like myself, who's busy, a mom, working. Like, I don't have time to like read a million books, figure this all out. I don't have the expertise to put it all together. And that's all they did is like put it together, tied it with a bow, and handed it to me in a way that I could easily follow, along with a coach to guide me like yourself. So I think that's what like makes Faster Way so unique. Which, speaking of, can you? One of the questions I get is like, you know, people have tried everything out there, especially if you've wanted to lose weight in the past. I think people try Optavia, Beachbody, you name it, and then they see Faster Way come along, and they're like, "Well, what makes this different? Like, why in the world is it going to work for me?" I get messages all the time. I've literally tried it all. I've done boot camps, you name it. What makes Faster Way so different? Because honestly, that was part of my skepticism, is I felt like it was just like another Beachbody program, just to like pick on one, so to speak, because there's so many out there. So, can you explain kind of what makes Faster Way a little bit different?
We focus on small progress. We're not trying to lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. We're not trying to completely change our bodies in 6 weeks. A lot of programs, and I'm not going to say names, only focus on one thing, and that is losing weight. The problem with just losing weight, when you focus on that too much, you are actually also burning muscle. And when you're burning muscle, especially over the age of 30, you are just ticking away at your metabolism. With every time you lose a little bit of muscle, you make it harder and harder for your metabolism to burn fat. Fat loss is actually what you want to focus on. I know people say, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight, but what they're really saying is they want to lose fat. And in order to lose fat, you need to be fueling your body. It is how I look at food is gas. If you don't put enough gas in your car, you're not going to get very far. And that is the same thing with your body. If you don't give it the fuel it needs, it's going to slow down your metabolism and make it very hard for you to burn fat. So that's what's different about Faster Way is we do the nutrition. Beachbody is a lot of just workouts, HIIT workouts, where you're not actually building muscle. You are focused more on weight loss. And like I said, you're going to start losing that muscle. So we focus on fat loss. It's the slower process, but is the process that is going to be maintainable for longer than the 6 weeks, longer than the 12 weeks, and through the rest of your life. Like Kristin, I mean, she just gets better and better and better as she goes. And that is because we have switched from just focusing on losing the weight to how do we keep it off and how do we just keep getting stronger.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. Like my journey started for because I wanted to lose weight because I didn't know, right? Like that's how a lot of us
Everybody.
come to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't understand like weight loss versus fat loss, the importance of building muscle. I didn't, and that's where the education of Faster Way really came into play. Was like, here I thought I just wanted these like quick results, whereas I got this whole education, changed my mindset. Now, like entering 40 this year, I am so excited. I look better than I've ever looked in my entire life. Like even Dustin the other night, he's like, "Oh my gosh, like it's incredible what you're building here, you know." I mean, and I feel like confident and excited. And anyway, it is pretty amazing, like when you have those like tools in your pocket, like how they can carry on to like a lifetime of success, so to speak, versus
Yeah.
like this like quick fix type deal. So
Yeah.
then if somebody like wants to get started, they're like, okay, I want to lose fat. I want to look like that, not, you know, have this like toned body. Like, where do I even begin? Because that's where I was. And that's where Faster Way came in, you know, and helping me with that. But where would like somebody even like start the process of like maybe why they should jump into Faster Way, like where they're going to start with the process when they do join?
So, how I look at each client is I look at their goals. So when you come into the Faster Way, I have questionnaire that clients will fill out. So it's going to ask you those things. What is your goals? What are you looking to do? And based off of all that information that you put in, if it is fat loss, if it is weight loss, if it is just losing in general, you're going to start in a calorie deficit. And here's the thing, calorie deficits do not mean 1,200 calories. Calorie deficits do not mean you're not eating carbs. So it is a slight calorie deficit. So we can burn fat, but build muscle at the same time. When you are just getting started with your journey, you can build muscle and burn fat at the same time. You can kind of change your body composition. And that's what we focused on in the 6 weeks. As you go, you will see how Kristin has had to change her focus where, okay, she had that initial loss for those 6 months, but down the road, we have to change the focus so you can continue to make those progresses. But initially, when people come in, they want to lose weight. And so that's where we're going to start. We're going to start in a slight caloric deficit where you're not starving, where you still feel satisfied, but you're able to stay consistent because you're not eating 1,200 calories. The reason people struggle most often when they try to slash their calories and lose weight is they cut their calories too low and they can maintain it for like 2 or 3 days, but then they get off track and they're like, oh my gosh, that cookie looks amazing. These chips look amazing. That ice cream looks amazing. And they eat it all. And then they've just taken themselves out of that caloric deficit. The way we're going to do it is we're going to focus on protein. So we're going to keep you satisfied. We're going to give you the carbs so you're not craving them all the time. And you are going to be able to stick to it much easier. And when you can do that, you can make progress a lot easier than continually starting over every 2 or 3 days because you have binged, you have gone off track, you've had a weekend, you've had a birthday, whatever the case may be. We teach you how to build that into your lifestyle so you can still live life.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy. Like the biggest thing that I found was the food freedom that comes from that. I know a lot of people are scared of like calorie deficits or macros, you know, counting their macronutrients and tracking food. There is so much freedom, and it's really hard to explain to people. And
Yeah.
I thought I had a lot of food. I never felt like I struggled with like binge eating, or I thought I always had a healthy relationship with food. But honestly, I looked at food in a very like good and bad, morally, this moral compass kind of way. And now, like the other night, we've been on this like smash burger kick where once a week we make smash burgers. It's like this big family thing. The kids love it. It's so much fun. I have fries, I have smash burger. And you know what? I'm adult with my life. Like I know it fits within. I'm not scared. Like my body's going to use that food. And it's
Yep.
like, there's this incredibly healthy relationship now with food. And like, even when
Yep.
I'm in a calorie deficit, it's not like starving myself. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but it's become this beautiful relationship
Yeah.
that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I loved about macros too, is because it did the same thing for me. It gave me so much freedom. I mean, even somebody who was in the health and fitness industry and eating healthy, I was scared to eat too much fruit. I was scared to eat bread. I mean, I had a terrible relationship from that, that mindset of I don't want to go back to the person that I was, and that person was eating the cookies and the ice cream and the bread, so I can't have it now. And so that's literally when I found macros, I was like, how can people not do this? Like I people ask me all the time. I am that person. I've been tracking macros, like I said, for 12 or 13 years now. I still track my macros. I don't find it hard. I don't find it complicated. I'm not spending 45 minutes trying to plan meals. The more you do it, it becomes like putting on your socks, putting on your watch. It's very easy with anything. When you start out, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have challenges. You're not going to be perfect, but continuing the process. And that's literally how you learn it and how it just becomes so much more easy. And I think that's why it's so easy for you. I hear people say, I get sick of tracking. I get sick of burnt out, doing that. I feel like it's giving me a bad relationship with, looking at food. But if you look at it the way it's changing your mindset and the way you're consuming food, you actually will start enjoying it. And I don't have if one day I don't track, that's okay. If we're on vacation and it's not perfect, that's okay. Like I'm not going to die because now my eyes know this is about 140 grams of protein. This is about X amount of carbs. So am I short, over or under? Yes. But you start training your eyeballs to really understand how much food you actually need. So you don't have to be so strict and strenuous all the time.
And I think that's where the some of the freedom that I've experienced comes from is like putting in the work to track. And like you said, like now I know what, say, 140 grams of protein looks like roughly because I spent that time. You spent that time like religiously tracking and like weighing and seeing as a visual. And so, like you said, like now, like we go to California in 3 weeks, we're going to spend a week there. I'm not going to track anything, but I'm going to focus on the protein. I know pretty much like roughly what like my 2200 calorie like range looks like in a day, but it's because I did all that work of tracking for these years of building that foundation that now like for a week I might not hit that exactly, but I'm going to come pretty kind of close because of that work you put in initially that
Yeah.
most people want to avoid. And that's where like the Faster Way app, like allowing me to have the macro tracker, having you to like help guide me with adjusting my macros, all of that has been so beneficial. And like I think even now, like there are days when I don't track, but I have a really good idea. And that's where the food freedom comes in, is like I know that if I say eat this particular food, that's not what makes you like fat, right? It's consuming too many calories than what your body needs. It's plain and simple. It's not that particular food, right?
Yeah.
Now some foods are gonna have a super high calorie range and throw you off really fast and whatnot. But still, like yeah, there's just so much freedom in all of this. It's hard to explain to people who haven't tracked
Yeah.
before. So part of the tenet of Faster Way is like tracking macros, obviously, to hit your goal. Then the other tenet is this idea of strength training. Can you kind of talk about like what the Faster Way workouts look like, why strength training is such the emphasis of the program?
So what you get is literally everything that you need for a very reasonable price. But as far as strength training goes, I've already said it. Strength training is what you need to build muscle. If you are not building muscle, you are losing muscle. If you are over the age of 35, you will lose muscle with every year that goes on if you are not doing something to build your muscle. And so in the Faster Way, in the traditional layout, and I will change things for clients, as you move through the program. For instance, Kristin, she only does four days of strength training and one hit day. When we start out, everybody does 2 hit days and 3 strength training days. So there is so much research on if you just did 3 days of strength training, how much muscle you can start to build in your body. And that is the foundation of the Faster Way, is 2 hit days and 3 strength training. And that is always customizable. The fabulous thing about Faster Way is you fit this into your life. You don't try to fit into Faster Way. So if there is things that have to be tweaked or adjusted, it is very easy to do so. But when you are focused on strength training, we have home workouts where Kristin has said that's where she started. And we have gym workouts, and is where she has worked up to, is going to the gym. And I did see this question, and I wanted to address it in case we skip over it. Is somebody mentioned do you have to eventually go to the gym? And I am very, very honest with people. If you don't have a home gym, like a home gym where you have the weights that your body needs in order to build muscle, will you continue to build muscle with 10 pounds? Zero chances. So, you have two choices. You can invest in the equipment as you need as you get stronger, and you can start building a nice little gym of all the dumbbells and everything that you need. Or you can then at some point feel like, I'm confident, I feel good, I'm ready to go to the gym. And then you can transition to doing the gym workouts. And like Kristin, she'll mix and match. I do the same thing. If I'm busy or I can't get to the gym, there might be days that I do some of the home workouts. But in tradition, like mostly I go to the gym because I don't have a squat rack, I don't have an Olympic bar, I don't have a hip thrust machine. So if your goal is to build muscle, you're going to have to invest in equipment as you get stronger, or B, you might have to look into going to the gym. But we have all the workouts that you need, so you don't have to feel like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do at the gym. I don't know how to use all these things, because you get it all laid out for you and it is told to you exactly what to use and how to do it.
And that's what I love. I was thinking about that this morning. It's Monday. We're recording this. Literally this morning, I opened the app. I went in. I walked in the gym. I do exactly what I needed to do based on the list there. But there's also videos. There was one thing I couldn't quite remember like how to do, and I literally watched the form video. It was like 2 minutes of a form video. I got on, I did it. And I had people ask me all the time, like, oh, you must have had like experience in the gym. I was a gymnast growing up, but I had no gym experience. I didn't know, we didn't lift weights as a gymnast, right? I was very active, but I had no strength training background in any way. I never lifted a dumbbell in my life except for occasional like YouTube videos, which honestly didn't do anything because they were like the most random things I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I learned everything by the faster way workouts. Literally just like putting my head down, showing up, doing them repetitively, the same exact moves, pretty much. They're what programmed in different ways, but like it's pretty much the same moves over and over again that you're doing. And there's so much confidence that comes from that now I walk into the gym and I feel like I own that place. Like I realize a lot of people have no idea what they're doing in the gym, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I got
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
And that's literally what I love seeing in people, because that's like falling in love with the process, right? And when you fall in love with the process, you're not going to quit. If you love the way you're feeling, you love the way you are fueling your body, you love the way that you are looking and how confident you feel, you're not going to quit. If you can fall in love with the process and learn what you're gaining from it versus always trying to take away from it, you're going to change your life because you're never going to want to stop. It's not even going to be an option. Like there's nothing in my mind that says I'm quitting this tomorrow because I don't like it anymore. Like that's not even a thought in my head, because I love the way I feel at 40, almost 45 years old. Like it's not just about what I look like anymore. It's literally how I feel. I feel like a badass when I walk into a gym and there is like 20-year-olds, and I'm lifting more weight than them, or whatever. Like that just feels good to me, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine not doing that anymore.
yes, yeah. In fact, a real quick side note, I was talking to a family member yesterday on the phone, and they're having a lot of issues. They're in their about 70, and they've never strength trained. I know that, they've lost muscle over the years, right? And all I could think is they're describing like all these surgeries they need and how they can't like lift anything. I thought, oh my gosh, like this is one of the reasons why I strength train. It started out as like this very aesthetic, like wanting to change the way my body looked. And now, like, I love the way my body looks, honestly. It's fabulous, but it's more than that too. Like there are so many benefits. Like, I used to be so freaked out over my hormones that were out of balance. And if honestly, if I just had slept, lifted some weights and ate, like things kind of balanced out. I just was like looking for all these nitpicky things, but even like the strength aspect now as I age, knowing that I'm hoping that I don't have some of these same issues that this particular person was, like talking about, because I'm like, okay, like I'm focused on building that muscle, eating enough. And yes, it takes work, but it is so important. Okay, so I want to make sure we get through some questions. Okay, I want to get through. We got like 5 minutes real quick. So like let's do some rapid fire as to questions that some
Okay.
readers have. We already touched on a lot. So first, big one I hear all the time. People, especially women, concerned about hormone health. Does Faster Way address like hormone health and unbalanced hormones?
Nutrition, exercise, and how you're fueling your body. That you would, like Kristin just mentioned, it's not always your hormones that are the problem. It is what you're trying to do to lose weight, to lose fat that is causing the problems. So there are things. I am postmenopausal myself. Yes, at 44 years old, there is things that I've had to adjust and tweak for myself to feel good. For instance, because I'm sure people have asked this about fasting, I adjusted how long I fast because I found that I was not having as much energy. I was not feeling as good. So I did a little tweak to my intermittent fasting and I feel perfectly fine. So it's all about what you're doing that is going to help you balance your hormones. Whole food is a huge one. So, I mean, it literally will come down to exercise, how you're fueling your body, when you're not stressed out so much and you're sleeping a little bit better because you have more energy throughout the day and you're fueling your body. All of those things make a huge difference in your hormones. All of them. There's not this like magic pill that you're going to take that's going to fix your hormones, but it's all the little stepping stones and blocks that you're building in Faster Way that will help your hormones.
100%. Yeah, that's what I found. Somebody asked, can you talk about the Faster Way recommends not stepping on the scale? Like, why is that?
I think people need to have a healthy relationship with the scale. So, in the beginning of it, because people are so focused on losing weight that if they don't see the scale just dropping, they feel like they are not making progress. When really, weight fluctuation is very normal and it's going to go like this. And if you can learn to go along and let it just fluctuate and not panic over stepping on the scale, because guess what? We introduced you to eating more carbs. Carbs are carbohydrates. It is water. So we really focused on that first 6 weeks of just getting used to the plan, getting used to the Faster Way, getting used to listening to how your body's feeling and not just using the scale as the one and only sole way that you're tracking your progress. I believe people need to have a healthy relationship with the scale because as you're moving on, the scale is data. And that's what I want to teach people is how to use the scale as data, not the end all be all. But weight loss does not mean fat loss. Fat loss does not mean weight loss. So you can lose fat without losing a single pound of weight. And so that's why we focus more on non-scale victories and just letting go of the scale, even if it's only for a little while till you have a better relationship with the scale.
The crazy thing is, I weigh more today than I weighed at my leanest self, yet my body looks 100% better and different today than it
Yep.
did back then.
I'm
And I'm like
12
6 pounds
pounds heavier.
heavier.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm 12 pounds heavier. Actually, I'm probably 15 pounds heavier now than when I began my Faster Way journey in 2018. So
Wow.
12 to 15 pounds heavier. But if you look at me, I look totally different and way better.
For sure. Yep. It's crazy. And now I jump on the scale and it doesn't dictate to me like how I feel. It's just like
I
you
don't
said, a
care.
data point that I could use for various
Yeah.
reasons. Okay. So then people ask, let's see, a lot of questions about strength training. Somebody asked, is 2 days a week of full body strength enough to see results? They said, I love running. A lot of people love their cardio and they don't want to give up their cardio. And so can they like squeeze in some strength in there?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, like with Fast Away, say you love running, but you also need to build muscle. And that's where I will come in as your nutrition coach. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to run, if you liked, it could be somebody who's running, 3 miles a week, or somebody who's like, I'm an ultra marathon runner and I will run like 35 miles or whatever it is that they're running. Your nutrition needs to match your goals. If you are running and you are doing all of those things, but you're not fueling your body, you're not going to be at your best runner. I mean, like I will have runners who tell me like, since I've started Faster Way and I've started fueling my body, I am running things faster. I am finishing faster. I'm setting PRs. I don't feel as winded. I am not as sore. Yes, you can fit running into the Faster Way. It's the nutrition that we need to work on to make sure we are fueling your body appropriately for that.
Another person asked, I get this comment a lot. Like people may start in the Faster Way, do the workouts, and they're used to things like Orange Theory or boot camps where they're like constantly changing things up, or they like constantly feel sore, right? Or they're like out of breath and exhausted. But they're
Sweating.
like, yeah, they're like, I don't feel that way with the Faster Way workouts, with like the strength training workouts. So like, what am I doing wrong? Is this not challenging enough? Do I need to add more? Like people think they need to add more because they don't feel like it's hard enough.
So, the amount of calories you burn has zero to do with the progress you are making. The fact that you are sweating and you have mascara running down your face does not mean anything. You can wear a full face of makeup and do strength training and get better benefits out of it than if you were sopping wet hair, zapped energy from Orange Theory Fitness. So the calories you burn does not matter. I will tell people you're working out to build muscle, to build strength, not to burn calories, not to burn off what you ate. That's not what your workouts are for. You do not have to feel sore. When you're first starting working out, if you've never worked out before, you might feel sore. I don't get sore. I am never sore. I mean, there's
I don't
hardly
either.
anything that I do that makes me sore, but that doesn't mean that I'm not getting a good workout. So people have to look at that as that's not a measure of a good workout. The other thing that I will say is if you don't find the Faster Way workouts challenging enough, then you need to add probably more weight. Maybe you're that person who you're shoulder pressing 15 pounds and you're like, I can do like 25 of those. Well, what if you put those 15 down and you grabbed a set of 20 and now you are like, okay, I'm like struggling now. So A, is it that you're not lifting heavy enough? Or is it B, you still have in your mind you didn't burn enough calories, you're not sweating, you're not dying. Like that is not how you measure a good workout.
It's a huge mindset change for sure. It was for me. I was used to all of that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, and that's good. That muscle is going to, I mean, it's going to do more for you in the long run of like burning calories, right? Than like that like little cardio session. I mean, cardio is great. Like I'll do HIIT because I want like the endurance. And
Yeah.
I feel good, but
Cardio is
I
for your endurance and for your heart. Strength training is to build muscle and your metabolism. If you want to be a better fat burner, sitting on your butt watching Netflix, eating ice cream, you better have muscle on your body because that is what's going to make that feasible is having that muscle. So yes, do the cardio for 10,000. If you're that person, you're like, I don't like running. I don't like running either. I don't run. Somebody's chasing me with a knife or something's happening if I'm running. But there are people who love it. So your nutrition needs to be good, but cardio is not that is just not the end all be all. And those things that focus on high intensity all the time, that's not going to build muscle.
exactly. Yep. And what I tell people is like in the beginning, follow it to the T, honestly, because you need that structure and it's going to teach you. Like, don't be trying to like reinvent the like wheel. That's what
You
got
don't
you
have
in.
to. Yeah.
No, that first of all, doing that in the past has not helped you. So follow something, give it structure. And then, like you said, like I've started doing a little bit of that too. But I'm like almost 2.5 years into this now where I finally feel a little confident in doing the same moves over and over again that I'm like, oh, I can add this in here and this in here and kind of change up my schedule a little. But like if I had done that in the beginning, I would have been so confused. Like the program is designed in a very progressive way. Follow it, understand the structure, and then later on, if you want to like tweak things,
It's
have
so
at
much
it.
easier. Like you have that knowledge or that like base where it's easy to tweak. But so many people are like, this is, I mean, I hear it too. Like, this is not enough. This is not hard enough. Well, yes, you don't have to, it doesn't have to kill you to be working.
I walked out of the gym today and honestly, I didn't feel like I was dying. I mean, I like took a shower. I was great. I feel great. I feel energized.
Yeah,
Like I don't feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a nap or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So who would you say there's so many questions about fasting? Can you just give us really quick, like why Faster Way decides to incorporate intermittent fasting and what you people are like, can I have half and half during my fast? Can I do this during my fast? Like what exactly is just like fasting and why did they use it and what should you be doing during that time period?
Okay. So I call it digestive rest, and it is truly beneficial. Like you don't, and this is, there are so many different like fasting protocols. I mean, from like people doing 20 hour fasts and only eating 4 hours. Fuel is more important than fasting. So if you are somebody who has severely been under eating, we might have to adjust that fasting window. I might rather you learn how to fuel your body before you start trying to not eat enough. So again, we're going to tweak things as needed, but digestive rest is important. It is that time where your body is doing nothing. Like it's not working at digesting food. It can then work on other things and it's just a way to let food get out of your system and burn some fat a little bit. Pregnant people are not going to fast the same. Can you still fast? Yes, but it's probably going to be a lot lower than somebody else. Women who are in the brunt of menopause, that is going to have to change your fasting window. Somebody who runs, you're going to have to adjust your fasting window. So in the Faster Way, the general fast is that 16-hour of giving your body digestive rest and then eating for 8 hours. But there are so many middle grounds in between there that is also beneficial. So it's just looking at your lifestyle, your health. Do you have Hashimoto's? Do you have an autoimmune disease? So all of those things come into play when we are talking about fasting. Um, Half and half, what just in general, you want to keep things under 50 calories, have no fiber and no sugar. If whatever you're putting in your coffee meets those three criteria, it should be okay. If you are that person who has creamer or coffee with your creamer, you're going to have to tweak that a little bit where you're going to have to back off some of the creamer. But for just basic, this is what we do. It is 50 calories, no fiber, no sugar, and then it should be okay.
And
And then you have
fasting
water.
scares people. Yeah, it scares people so much. But I point out to people like everybody fasts. Like when you go to sleep at night, you are fasting probably for a good 6 to 9 hours. I don't know, whatever you're sleeping at night, you're naturally fasting. Like everybody is fasting. It's just that people get so scared because I think there's so many like hormone specialists out there talking about it and all sorts of things. And I'm like, listen, I intermittent fast usually for about 12 hours and I literally eat dinner and I eat breakfast. I love breakfast. Nobody is going to take
Breakfast is my
breakfast
favorite.
ever.
I'm
Exactly.
not giving up breakfast.
No, no, I love breakfast. It's like my biggest meal of the day, honestly, if people look.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And I eat something before the gym and I work out in the morning. Like people just get really scared. Well, thank you so much. I know we went like way over.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And I hope that like that helps people like you just one of the last thing that I want to end with is I don't want people to look at this as like a weight loss plan. I want to transform people's minds and thinking of I want to get stronger. I want to feel better. There's so much more out there when you start focusing on not just losing weight, when you actually just take, yes, that's a great thing. And, but it's the journey throughout the process that is going to transform your mind. And it's just, you have to give it time. I have so many people like Kristin who was like, I'm not doing this past 6 weeks. And those are the people who are the ones that are skeptical, the ones who are like, it didn't work. Well, I don't want it to work in 6 weeks because if it works in 6 weeks, you're not going to sustain that at all. You want to be able to build onto that lifestyle so it will sustain.
100%. Yep.